Greetings, hope you're doing well. Today I'm doing a quick review of the newest album from Declan McKenna titled Zeros. This is the sophomore album from Declan McKenna, who released an album I think 3 years ago when he was 18, I believe, titled What Do You Think of the Car? An album which I thought had its moments but suffered from a lack of identity, making itself a dime a dozen like indie pop, indie rock record. And I would have to say it was because Declan himself just lacked a presence on the majority of the track list. But like most young artists, it's always intriguing to see how they develop, how they evolve, how they change after their debuts. And on Zeros, I have to say this is quite an improvement over his debut record, and I think it's because there's a clear newfound confidence that Declan was able to gather into his vocal performances, the instrumental performances, and his songwriting ability, where he works in a lot of current day socio-political topics. And these improvements are immediately noticeable on the opening track, You Better Believe. A great track to kick off the album with Declan's sporadic vocals, the topic of hubris being one's downfall, at least that's what I got from it, and an eventful instrumental progression. The key to Life on Earth is led by these like cosmic synthesizer leads and features one of the more memorable choruses and melodies on the album, while also I think talking about the terrors of living in an economic system that views its people as a means to make money until they die rather than just people. Not sure if this is directed at capitalism, but there's definitely some eat the rich energy on this track. Beautiful Faces is a bright pop rock piece about how the younger generation is seeing the modern world through a hyper exaggerated lens of social media. There's a lot of layers of instrumentation on this track. It feels like a massive wave by the time it ends. Emily sounds like a take on toxicity in a relationship with some simple acoustics to start out, but as the track goes along, the instrumental opens up, adding a more thematic backdrop to the vocals, and I think wraps it up pretty nicely. Twice Your Size has a huge Bowie influence on this track. Everything from the starry production to Declan's more lively vocal inflections. It sounds like a little bit like something from a fan-made space oddity, in a very good way. Rapture is by far my favorite track on this album. The danceable grooves are airtight. The song topic about fearing the future fits in well with the futuristic tinge of the production, and Declan on this track goes wild. The screams at the tail end of the track were unexpected and added to that sense of like a quarter-life crisis. Sagittarius A is another great track as well, and the closer, Eventually Darling, is a resonating closer with the challenge of moving on, of life changing constantly, which affects feelings and beliefs, and also has a great wonky chorus to it as well, kind of displaying the perspectives of both Declan and the person he's trying to, talk or hash this change out with. Really, the only songs I did not care for as much were Be an Astronaut and Daniel, You're Still a Child. These two songs feature the same central character, and they actually are tethered together, and they evaluate this character's adjustment from his like wondrous ambitions in Be an Astronaut to real life society in Daniel, You're Still a Child. I love the topics, and I love the lyrics to these tracks quite a lot. I think they make a very compelling narrative, and showing that like contrast between wonder as a child and just trying to figure out how you're going to survive as an adult. But what keeps me from fully enjoying them are the directions the song takes, both like vocally and sonically. The melodies are not well fortified, they feel very loose, and I think the instrumentals drag on for a bit longer than they need to, kind of exacerbating the core of these tracks. Overall, this album is great. I would have never foreseen the large amount of improvement in such a drastic manner, considering this is his second album. But it definitely deserves some recognition, and it also deserves a listen, in my opinion, from anyone who comes across it. I highly recommend this one. I'd give it a